is set from the Portland Trailblazers and what to potentially hunker down for into the offseason and into next season. Friend of the program, Devon Pouncey, joins us live in studio for the entire third hour, but hour one on a Tuesday starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio. And a very happy Tuesday. It is RCM. I am your host, Justin Myers. Super producer Brenden safely partitioned on the other side of the glass. Thanks for getting up early with us or staying up late, however you are rolling on this particular Tuesday. A lot of stuff to dive into on the big show today. It was a weird night last night because I think this is the first time, and thankfully it was just a night. And I'm sure there's probably some sprinkled in here and there where usually I'll take you through my day real quick. Come in, I do the show. After the show, I go home. I have late breakfast, early lunch, whatever you want to call it. I go to the gym, get a quick nap, take the dog for a walk, do some housework. And usually by about 4:30, which is about an hour and a half before my wife gets home, I hunker down and I'm like, I'm going to get on my phone and look on the internet. And in the background, I'm going to put on a game. You know, the East Coast games are usually on. And, you know, for a good chunk of time, boy, there was always something on. It was always something on. And I was like, last night, I'm like, oh, that's right. There are. And I'm sorry to regular season baseball before 4th of July, or really before September. I'm sorry, Major League Baseball. You don't really count as being on.
Question with that. If Spencer Strider's arm was still accurate, do you have a different opinion?
I will pay attention to the Braves all summer long through Twitter, right? And, like, it's basically hey, did they win? Got it. If they were on ESPN or, like, Apple TV Plus, I will throw that. But, like, I'm not a day-to-day Atlanta Braves watcher. I watch through Twitter, which is like, oh, hey, they won the series. They're in first place, by the way. Also, if you pay attention to Mariners Twitter, the sky is falling. I have still a lot of people on my Twitter feed. I have completely abandoned the For You page on the Twitter stream or feed, I guess you should say. Are you on the For You or are you on the following?
For You.
It got too toxic.
I mean,
for me.
it
got too toxic for me.
You know, I switch back and forth. It depends.
I've figured. I had a moment. I had a realization. I'm like, you know, I follow all these people for a reason, and the TikTok algorithm, boy, it's got your boy's brain dialed in. Things I didn't even know I like on TikTok. Facebook is a mess. Facebook is an absolute mess. I don't even mess with Facebook anymore. But Twitter or X, I'm on a lot. And the For You page, it just got too dark. It got too mean. And I'm like, I'm just going to go back to the people that I follow, usually the people I know. And a lot of those people are people who cover the Mariners. And I'm like, boy, the Mariners must be really, really awful. Let me check in on the standings. Oh, they're 7-10 in April. They're 2 games out of first place. It's like, but if you were to look at Mariners Twitter, you would think they need to blow the thing up, fire the GM, fire the manager. I'm like, correct me if I'm wrong. We're halfway through April. You're 2 games out of first place. Anyways, usually I'll sit down, do a little zoning out on the couch, and throw a game on in the background. And yesterday I was like, oh, that's right. We don't have a game on. Sports calendar is about to take a turn on us. And obviously the NBA playoffs are going to be coming into our lives, and that's going to be, I think it's going to be a fantastic playoff. In the West, I don't know if anybody's going to be able to compete with the Boston Celtics in the East. We'll find out. But in the West, looks like it could be very, very interesting. I'm fascinated with the Golden State Warriors tonight. Fascinated. Is this the end of the dynasty, or will this turn out to be the dynasty that maybe will never die? Because if the Golden State Warriors lose to the Sacramento Kings, what's the line on that game? Well, let's just take a look here. Golden State's 3.5-point favorites. 3.5-point favorites, but they're in Sacramento, lighting the beam and everything. If the Golden State Warriors lose tonight, what happens to this team? Does it? Is Draymond done? Is Clay done? Do they get to the point where they go, hey, Steph, you're not going anywhere because you are our moneymaker. You are the reason why everybody shows up to this arena. But we're putting young guys around you. Because didn't the Lakers do that with Kobe towards the end of his career? It was like, Gasol's got to go. Meta World Peace has got to go. We got to go. But yeah, Kobe, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stick around and you're going to play with these young guys because you're the reason why people still show up to this building.
Yeah, a medium-ish schism could occur in Golden State this offseason, almost like because you look, not everybody, but just for what it's worth, Klay Thompson and his $44 million as a free agent. They can completely get off.
So he's gone. So Clay's going to be a free agent. They're not re-signing him.
Probably not, but you never know.
He's coming off the bench, isn't he?
I haven't watched enough Warrior games to say.
I know that was a thing earlier in the year. I don't know if
I know he's been playing better, but they could also completely move off of Chris Paul's money.
Yeah, he's gone.
And they could completely move off about 2 or 3 other guys' money, too. And just kind of...
And I would imagine they're going to take a hit on Draymond's contract.
Yeah, they could still move this roster enough and soft rebuild around Steph for like another year if they wanted to. But I don't know, right?
Like, did the Blazers invent the soft rebuild?
No, because they weren't successful.
They weren't. Well, they attempted, though.
Well, weren't successful keeping the star and that team in the playoffs while also rebuilding. So,
gotcha. Got it.
2 fires, Justin.
More on that, by the way, coming up in approximately 10 minutes. We are going to have the hard conversations with regard to the Blazers because I feel like we're still not getting down to the nitty-gritty of what's going on with this organization. So we're going to dive into that. Also, Lakers play the Pelicans. Pelicans 1.5 favorites tonight against the Lakers, and I am fascinated. I don't know if it's likely, but if the Lakers lose and they get bounced out of the play-in, what would that be? Thursday night?
Yes, because the East will go tomorrow. Yes, yep.
And what happens to the Lakers? Does LeBron finally say enough is enough? Because it's not working. Anyways, it is for NBA conspiracy theorists, there is a lot of evidence there of, boy, these play-in games, we talked about the play-in games yesterday during Make or Miss. These play-in games, I don't know how necessary they are, but, man, they sure get some star power, don't they? Because in the play-in, Steph, LeBron, AD, Zion. 4 pretty popular players right there. And then in the East, Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I'm not claiming conspiracy because, as I have said multiple times, anybody that thinks the NBA has any conspiracy over who wins and who loses is delusional because just take, what are they called? Haven't won since the 70s. The Knicks. That's right. For all these conspiracy theories, like how have they not had the Knicks, at least in the NBA Finals, what was it, the 90s? I think it was 99.
Ask Pat Riley, right?
The strike-shortened 99 season when the Knicks were that's 25 years. Yeah, I don't think there's any conspiracy, but somehow, some way, they lucked into some firepower, which means this play-in situation that I don't think is very good. I don't think it was necessary. But I think it's a happy accident that in the first 3 years of it, you've had LeBron twice, you've had Steph twice, you've had Jimmy Butler now twice in the Miami Heat. So we'll dive into that. We'll dive into the U.S. team coming up in Make or Miss. Team USA too old? We learned a couple of times. We've learned a couple of times over in the Olympics, going up against these European teams, right? These teams that love to spread the floor and run and run and run, that you can't just out-talent them. Like,
he may have.
You send the old folks over there. That's like, we all like to look back at the Athens, which is the worst, most pitiful performance, right? 2004. Team USA in Athens, pitiful performance, and I was like, oh, no, they sent the old guys over there, and had young LeBron James, young Carmelo Anthony, young Dwayne Wade just sitting on the bench. And you sent me that list yesterday, and you're like, hey, look at that, and I'm like, there's a lot of old players on this team.
Well, and for what it's worth, he may have not wanted to go, so I'll say that, but I'm a little surprised there's a point guard from Milwaukee missing.
That is interesting.
So
there's a lot of old players on that list, though.
He would kind of fit in that mix of players.
He's getting there.
Right? So that was interesting to me. Maybe he just said, nah, I'm good.
Definitely dive into that. And as we mentioned, exit interviews yesterday for your Portland Trail Blazers. Joe Cronin, Chauncey Billups, all the players spoke. Some interesting comments from Joe Cronin. And can we parse some of the words? Can we read between the lines? Can we try to look into our crystal ball and try to figure out what is Joe saying without actually saying? We'll do that, plus hard conversations we need to have with regard to the Portland Trail Blazers. That's coming up next here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, on Sunday, the Blazers season mercifully came to an end. And per usual, when the season comes to an end, whether that is at the end of the Western Conference Finals, as the Blazers had back in 2019, or in the first round, or at the end of the regular season, Blazers come back to the practice facility. I don't know if they check in their gear like you do in like high school football. That was always a sad day. It's like, all right, we're checking in gear on Monday, boys. But come back to the practice facility before they head off to Cancun or Cabo or St. Bart's or wherever they are all going to be for the next couple of months. And I'm sure it's going to be very sunny and very luxurious. They got to give the evaluation, right? The exit interviews. And Joe Cronin took to the podium. Chauncey Billups took to the podium. We've got some audio that we are going to play because I want to talk about some tough questions, some hard conversations that we all need to have. Now that the day-to-day grind of the season is over and we can kind of get beyond the, hey, boy, injuries really derailed this season, didn't it? Well, the day-to-day grind is over, and now there are some hard conversations. Let's start with overall. Projecting where this organization is going to be next year. Because I think there were a lot of people, and I'm talking about fans, I think there were a lot of fans who felt a little bit misled, or maybe they misled themselves. We've all done that before as fans, but it was like, yeah, they're going to be young, but, it's going to be energetic and moving on from new era and Blazer basketball. Knew it was going to be bad. Was it going to be this bad? Coming off of 2 tanking seasons and then now a third full rebuild season, I think a lot of Blazer fans that I would not speak for, but I think I kind of understand, want to know how long till we get there, right? We all took road trips with our family. How long till we get there?
You loved a good road trip.
I was not a fan of road trips. It was the only option that we had growing up. Family of 5, 2 teachers, didn't do a lot of flying, had a lot of time open in the summer, did a lot of driving. And that
tracks.
And that was the ultimate question, which was, how long till we get there? Give me a number. Are we talking 5 hours? Are we talking 45 minutes? How long till we get there? So I think that's the big question with the Blazer fan base right now, which is, and what is getting there? I think kind of where Sacramento is right now. Good, not great. Young, developing, still able to compete. How long till we get there? So our good friend Aaron Fentress asked Joe Cronin about priorities in the offseason, priorities in the future, and the outlook for next season. Here's what Joe Cronin had to say yesterday during exit interviews about where the focus of this organization is now headed.
Well, we're heavily invested in our, in a lot of our young guys. So development will continue to be a focus. We're not going to win at an extremely high level until some of those guys are ready. But at the same time, it's our job to give them the best environment to thrive in. And often that's with additional help. I think this year there were some flaws in the roster, especially in some missing skill sets and just in general imbalance, where it made it complicated for those guys to reach their highest potential. There's skill sets we need to add, like we need more shooters. We've got to open up the floor for guys. We need more playmaking. We need more defenders. There's a lot of things we need. So we're going to continue to evaluate how do we supplement the existing group that we have, but at the same time, not ignoring we're not good enough yet. We don't have enough talent. Like, we've got to keep boosting our talent base. And it might be our most, important thing we do this summer is keep adding to this talent base.
All right, a lot of things to unpack there. Because I think I'm getting pretty good at kind of reading between the lines when old Joe Cronin starts talking. All right, let's start with what I took in the first part of that. Focused on development. We're not ready to win until these guys are ready. Hunker down, boys and girls and anybody else. Hunker down, fans, because I think that was a warning sign of we're not anywhere close to competing yet. And this is the tough part because for 2 years, you tried to have your cake and eat it too, right? Have Dame, have your, have your bell cow, but also go young, rebuild. It didn't work. Dame's now gone. Then you went full rebuild. Tougher than you thought. More on that in a moment. But I think for anybody that had ideas that the Blazers, while focusing on development, are going to be in the mix at all next year, I think is a little bit silly. It's a little bit delusional. So is it time to once again hunker down for another season of losing, which is not unprecedented in the NBA? We talked about it yesterday. Go back, look at the Philadelphia 76ers. 76ers lost 58-plus games a year. 1 year they lost 70 for 4 consecutive seasons. How many years is the Rockets in the middle of their kind of rebuild, right? They're not at the 20-win mark, but the Rockets are kind of in year 4. They had a shot back in March to maybe make the play-in, and then ultimately that fell apart. But they're in year 4 of a complete and utter rebuild. So this is not unprecedented, the timeline. I think the problem was, from a fan's perspective, was first one, all right, tank the season away. Then we'll reset with Dame. It felt like not really a tank or a rebuild. It felt like a reset. Then the same thing happened. Oh, got the number 3 pick. Surely we'll be able to get something with that number 3 pick. Well, they drafted a 19-year-old point guard, and your franchise player specifically said, don't do that, and don't call me Shirley. So now here we sit. Year 3 in the middle of it. So I think the writing on the wall is pretty clear. The big swinging move or maybe a big roll of the dice, and which wouldn't work at this particular point anyways, that's not coming. Focusing on development, focusing on the draft, focusing on young players. Now, here's my next question. What's considered young? Right? Brenden, he said it right there. He's like, he said, we have an imbalance in the roster. We don't have enough talent. You have to fix some of the inadequacies of the roster. Well, there's only a handful of ways to do that. One is the draft. You get 4 picks this draft. But the other thing you got to do is you're going to have to trade some guys away. By the way, I know that Joe Cronin got a grace period his first couple of years because the conventional wisdom, and I don't even know if it's the actual truth, but the conventional wisdom was, well, he's got to clean up Neil's mess, right? Isn't that what a lot of people were saying? We were even saying it, right? Well, he's got to clean up Neil's mess. Never mind that Neil's mess made the playoffs every single year. Is it hard not to roll your eyes a little bit, Brenden, when you hear Joe Cronin say, we don't have enough shooters, there's a roster imbalance? Well, who's been in charge of the roster for 3 years? This is not like the 3 months that he took over. It's like, dude, this has been your roster for 3 years. How did we get this imbalance? Can't just keep blaming the old ex-girlfriend. You know what I mean?
It's one of those things where,
Am I being unfair?
No, because, Blazer fans, this is the same person who honestly stood up there for 2 years and said, were building around Dame when they were taking calculated steps to start this rebuild. So
Yeah.
they've wanted to have their cake and eat it too. So with that, I kind of know like they know how to get up there. Gotta credit my brother for this. He said the only difference really is a different haircut or no hair and no bottle of water. And
I mean, it's a different tact. It's a different
is.
approach. I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, he's got to go. That's not what we do on this show. I'm just asking tough questions. Well, not even tough questions. I think this is pretty much softball. But my question is, when you hear the GM come out and say, well, we've got inadequacies in the roster, how'd that happen? Do you know what I mean? How did we get there? How did we get inadequacies in the roster? Why don't we have enough shooters? Is this a new phenomenon in the NBA that you need shooters, right, to spread the floor? And like I said, he got a year-long, maybe even a 2-year-long grace period because the conventional wisdom was he had to clean up Neil's mess. Oh, the mess that Neil Olshey made, the mess that made the playoffs every year. Not saying he was perfect, but he wasn't all bad. Made the playoffs every year. And maybe there's a little bit of, there was always maybe a block with Damian Lillard when he was on the roster in terms of putting this roster exactly the way we want it. But when I hear it's like, we don't have enough shooters, like, well, no offense, but you drafted it with number 3 overall, a 19-year-old point guard whose three-point shooting was not exactly stellar. So it's just kind of hard to sit here and hear like, wow, we don't have shooters. All right. Next hard conversation. If in fact we still are in this place next year, maybe not 21 wins, maybe 25 wins, heck, maybe even 30, I don't know. How do you get an honest evaluation of Chauncey Billups as a head coach in the NBA? This is the next hard conversation that we need to have. Now, the Blazers said they're committed. They're committed to Chauncey Billups. And by the way, I think they should be. Chauncey Billups came into this job to coach Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, who were coming off of a Western Conference Finals run and then a couple of disappointing playoff exits. But Chauncey Billups was brought in to take the Neil Olshey, Dame, CJ, Nurk roster and elevate it. And 3 months in, Neil's fired, Joe's taken over, Dame's having surgery, CJ's traded away, Nurk, Ant were shut down, and tank, rebuild. So I give Chauncey Billups a massive, massive pass. I know some, by the way, on Friday, Brenden, when I was at the game, and they introduced the Blazers as Mark Mason does, with the fantastic intros that Mark Mason does, and then of course at the end of the starting lineups, you get and your head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, Chauncey. There's some booze. I heard some there was some booze in the old Moda Center, and I'm like, is this how it starts? Because my professional opinion, Chauncey Billups was never really given a chance to actually coach in-game basketball. Both times the trade deadline came and went and was told, please lose on purpose. And then this year, here's an inadequate roster, as Joe Cronin just said, with not enough shooters. And most of these guys are going to be hurt most of the year, and we're not going to really worry about getting them back because we're playing for ping pong balls. So how do you have a proper evaluation of Chauncey Billups in this whole where is the Chauncey Billups timeline? Does it start over every year because you can't really evaluate the guy at the end of a tanking season, which I don't believe you can? It's a fascinating spot to be in because we have seen help me out. Guy Detroit Pistons used to be with the Suns.
Monty Williams.
Monty Williams, thank you very much. Monty Williams is
still employed today, I think.
I think so. I think he's going to be employed. I think he's going to see through the next handful of years with the Detroit rebuild because unlike what we have here with the Portland Trailblazers, Brenden, the Pistons can look at Monty Williams and go, coach the team to the NBA Finals, right? He coached the Phoenix Suns to lots and lots of wins. He's got a coaching track record that we can go back and feel comfortable with. It's not a criticism, it's simply an observation, is Chauncey Billups, we have no frame of reference. This is his first and only coaching job that we have seen, and this is an unfair sample size to evaluate. It's unfair. It's unfair to him. It's unfair to his staff because they've been basically told to lose. All right, next hard conversation. You heard Joe Cronin there in the audio we played a handful of minutes ago. This roster is imbalanced. There's not a balance on the roster. AKA, we got too many guards. I know Anthony Simons addressed it yesterday. I know it is going to be talked about a lot because I'm not going to stop bringing it up. If Brogdon stays on the roster, which maybe they find a suitor for Malcolm Brogdon in the offseason, but it sure seemed like they wanted him to stick around and were not going to take what the market was given at the trade deadline. If Malcolm Brogdon stays on the roster, you have got Scoot, you've got Anthony Simons, and you've got Shaedon Sharpe all there in the backcourt. And let's just say Malcolm Brogdon accepts the role of backup point guard. Right? Malcolm Brogdon, you're the backup point guard. And you know what? You might even play crunch time minutes like they did earlier this season, but you're going to be the backup point guard. You'll probably play some starters minutes. I think there's still, 2 years on his deal? Just 1 year on his deal?
Just one left.
All right. Well, you'll play 1 year on your deal. We'll see what the market gives us.
Oh, I don't think they're seeing what the market gives him anymore. I think he will be gone by the trade deadline.
Trade deadline.
Yeah.
Let's just say by tip-off next season,
Sure.
He's your backup point guard. Scoot,
expensive backup
Scoot,
point guard.
Very expensive for a team that is focused on development, and we're not ready to win yet. Scoot, Shaedon, Ant. All three of those guys have a home here? I don't see it. Now, again, I have said multiple times, my basketball knowledge in terms of X's and O's is at an elementary level, but I don't see a starting lineup where those three are all in it. Does one of them have to go? It's not going to be Scoot. It's not going to be Shaedon. Let's have the Anthony Simons conversation here in 30 seconds. I've said multiple times I would be a terrible GM. But I do know some GM tendencies. And you know what GMs really like? Guys they drafted. Really like guys they drafted. You know who they are usually willing to part ways with? Guys they didn't draft. And you heard Joe Cronin talking about, well, we are going to be focused on development of the young guys. We all remember Anthony Simons the moment he walked into Portland in the spring, summer of 2018. Right? Coming right out of IMG Academy. Going to sit for a year. Had that fun game against Sacramento at the end of the 2019 regular season. We all remember. That's 5 years ago. That's 5 years ago. When you hear Joe Cronin talking about the young players in terms of development, is Anthony Simons one of the young guys anymore? I mean, he's not exactly ancient, but I don't know if you can put him in the category of the young guys that need to develop. What's the future of Anthony Simons? These are the hard conversations, people. More on this coming up in a bit. We've got some round ball rock on the way as well. We got an Olympic team. I got some issues. I don't know if we're going to bring home the gold. I certainly will root for our boys because I am a proud supporter of the red, white, and blue, but maybe some inadequacies in Team USA's roster. But before we get to Round Ball Rock and wrap up hour number one, I do want to tell you about the good people at DeBella. That's right. They are a proud supporter of Operation Homefront. More importantly, they are Oregon's experts in roofing, siding, windows, bath renovations, Better Homes and Garden, HGTV, 15,000 plus 5-star reviews on Google for their excellent work, and that number continues to add every single day. Plus, you will receive award-winning customer service, accolades from Angie's List and Home Advisor. And again, this is not DeBella telling you how great they are. This is their customers. This is Angie's List, award-winning customer service, telling you how great their work has been. Plus, it's economical. You can pay for a brand new roof potentially with going solar. With savings to your energy bill plus federal or state incentives, all you got to do is contact DeBella. They've got all the details right there for you. Free, convenient estimate, schedule and time that works for you. So contact DeBella today and take advantage of their amazing financing opportunity of no payments until 2025 on approved credit. That's right. Oregon's experts in roofing, windows, siding, bath renovations, proud supporter of Operation Homefront. Of course, I'm telling you about DeBella. All right, time to wrap up hour number one. We got NBA play-in action tonight. Basketball is back after taking a night off last night. Western Conference play-in, we've got the Sacramento Kings are going to be hosting the Golden State Warriors. Warriors 3.5-point favorite, and New Orleans Pelicans are a 1.5 favorite against the LA Lakers. You got the Warriors and the Lakers. Now, the Lakers obviously were never a dynasty in this iteration, but did win a championship in the bubble, did have the LeBron AD connection that they thought was going to net multiple banners. That hasn't happened. And we are also seeing the end, potentially, of the Warriors dynasty. So a lot of fascinating storylines going on in the play-in. Plus, who would have thought of the lineup of stars in the play-in that New Orleans Pelicans Zion Williamson would be number 4? LeBron's the biggest star. Steph's the second biggest star. Anthony Davis probably the third most popular of all the players playing tonight. And then you got Zion sitting there at number 4. But basketball back tonight in the play-in. We also have 11 of the 12-man Olympic roster has been finalized. The Olympics coming up this summer. Paris, right? I mean, Paris this summer? Yeah. Pumped for swimming and gymnastics. Let's go get them, Team USA. So, with that, we have a ton of basketball to dive into. Let's get to Round Ball Rock. Give me some Tesh. All right, first off, let's get predictions. Brenden, who you like tonight? I like the Pelicans to beat the Lakers.
So
I like the Pelicans to beat the Lakers.
I sat because it was on TV above my head when I had lunch on Sunday. The
Where
entire
were you at lunch at?
Round Table Pizza. The entire Pelicans
Not
Lakers game, and maybe I didn't see.
Where's their round table in Sherwood? Newburgh.
Yeah, ventured out to. That was the reward for going out to work out. I have a new theory on how I get to the gym, Justin. So it's every couple days.
All right, hold that thought. We got to talk about that on the other side.
We will.
That's going to be a 7 o'clock discussion.
Yes.
But
if it's that important, I don't know if the listening audience cares.
It is important.
Do they? But yeah, no, I like. I think the Lakers can't go against Braun. I'm until you kill the king, and
is he not? Because I don't know if you were ever really a LeBron James fan.
No, I'm definitely not.
But you're right in that age group where, like me and Tiger Woods, I still believe that that's Tiger Woods. Do you still believe that's LeBron James?
Now,
like Cleveland Cavs, LeBron James.
Yeah, for my money, LeBron James is not the GOAT. I know other people have their opinions. I like the guy that went 6 for 6, but that's my thing. But regardless, he ain't done, and I don't think CJ and Zion stand a chance if they play the right way. Maybe I'm wrong. Then the other one,
Warriors at the Kings.
Going with the Dubs, man. I love Steph too much. Now, see, there's a player I love a lot more than LeBron.
All right, I'm going to root for storylines here, right?
Steph's
and my apologies to the Sacramento Kings' entire fan base. I know that there's a handful that listen to this particular program. My apologies to you. But I'm going to pick the Warriors because I want to see the Warriors and the Lakers on Thursday. One gets in, the other goes home. Steph versus LeBron. Elimination game. Let's do it. Right? Let's do it. All right, so we got some NBA play in action. Let's talk about this Olympic team. Going to Paris. Here's the Olympic roster. LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. I love all those players. None of them spring chickens. Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's not going to play this summer, is he? He's coming off of injury.
So he must
He worked himself to get back into the postseason. He's not playing this summer.
So he must be dual citizen.
I believe so.
Play for U.S. or Cameroon.
Yeah, we do that every once in a while. We got Akeem Olajuwon back in the '96 Olympics.
Gotcha.
Every once in a while, we'll take your best player. So
no Giannis though.
No.
They Greece wants him.
Yeah, no Giannis. Jokic, no chance. But every
it
once
might
in a while,
be during, Jokic might not even play. Maybe it's during horse riding season.
Every once in a while, you get Joel Embiid, though. Jason Tatum, like that. Devin Booker, like that. Drew Holiday, good. Somebody that can actually play defense. Took us 6 guys to get there. What's Anthony Davis doing on this roster?
Because LeBron's on it.
What's Anthony Davis doing on this roster?
Because Bron's on it. That's
now,
why.
got Anthony Edwards. I know you love Bam Adebayo.
I do.
I like Tyrese Halliburton as well. But according to the Bleacher Report, they put stacked fire emoji. I have some concerns about our roster.
I saw people.
Brenden, I got some concerns about our roster. I don't know if this is as first. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, unfortunately, he's going to be playing for Team Canada, I believe. Canada,
with Jamal Murray.
kind of loaded right now.
Yeah, they're getting there, man.
Canada's putting together
I mean,
a
Dylan
squad.
Brooks even? I mean, not bad, right? I mean.
Look out for Team Canada.
Yeah, I mean, several Oregon Ducks. I think. Isn't Chris Duarte from Canada, too? Throwing another.
Dude, Altman had a
he had a
Canadian
run,
pipeline
man.
of
Chris
maple syrup
Boucher.
and basketball players, man, for years and years and years. By the way, assistant coach that was getting all those players from Canada that has been gone he's coming back. So
Stubblefield's coming back.
Stubble's coming
okay.
back.
Okay,
Final
more on
Fours.
that later. But
Final
yeah,
Four, here we come.
I think it's
I
interesting.
mean, I guess
game.
I'm failing at my own rule, which is no complaints without a solution. I don't know who should be on the roster. I love Kevin Durant. I love LeBron James. Or I don't love LeBron James. I love Steph Curry. Not the biggest fan of LeBron James, but I respect LeBron James. This is an old roster. This is in the newest version since, right, post-Dream Team 2, and really in the 2000 Sydney Olympics where we all kind of realized, the rest of the world kind of figured some things out and came to play. And then in 2004 in Athens where we got our tails kicked, and it was like, well, you didn't put any shooters on there because internationally you got to have shooters. This is 2004 I'm talking about. You also had a bunch of old people. And then you got the Redeem Team where they got Kobe, and Kobe was like, watch me work, bleepity bleeps. And the rest of the team followed suit.
I would like.
This seems
there's
to be a little bit
There is.
old on
I
this
would have
roster.
liked to seen someone like Paolo make the mix too. Obviously, he can still play for America as well.
Well, he's from Seattle.
Yeah, but he's obviously I think he's got Italian.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys who can do both as well, but I could be wrong on that. I think it's telling that Damian Lillard's not on this list.
He was born in Seattle.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. It could be that Dame had such an arduous process. Like the dude literally played hurt.
Yeah.
Tore that core muscle even more to go get that ring with, Pop and KD back in 2021, even though it was the 2020 Olympics. So maybe Dame was just like, yeah, I don't need this. I'm chasing my ring and that's all I care about right now. But like, in what world, no disrespect to Jrue Holiday, he's great. But is he Damian Lillard? No. Is Tyrese Halliburton Damian Lillard? No.
I like Tyrese Halliburton on the team though.
Fair. Like, where's Tyrese Maxey? Right?
The
There's a dude I would have liked to have seen.
Well, this is the tough part, right? Do you put together a team full of stars, or do you put together a roster that
you
can
said
win?
Shea, obviously, but that's
Well,
Canada.
Shea can't play.
Canada,
He's playing for
obviously.
Canada. Yeah.
You don't mess with Kyrie on an Olympic team. He might not go. So you never know. That doesn't surprise me. Can't really trust Zion and his health.
Let's get Jalen Brunson on the team, by the way.
Jalen Brown? Tatum's teammate? No?
I'm just saying we need.
Yeah, fair.
It's a young man's game, this international thing, and I know it's a fun trip to Paris, LeBron, but
Go to the fashion show.
oh, goodness gracious! All right, coming up, I'm gonna find out what Brenden was talking about with his new workout routine. Plus, Deion Sanders had some interesting comments about where he will allow his son and his good buddy to play in the NFL. We got make or miss. Jam-packed hour number 2 coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. The NBA play-in tournament begins tonight in the West. Sacramento will be taking on Golden State. Loser, season over. Winner moves on to potentially become the 8th seed. And New Orleans and the Los Angeles Lakers will face off as well. Winner is the 7th seed. Loser battles for a win and you're in scenario coming up on Thursday. Caitlin Clark goes number 1 overall to the Indiana Fever in the WNBA draft, while Stanford and Beaverton standout Cameron Brink goes 2nd overall to the LA Sparks. And the 2024 Olympic team, headlined by LeBron James, which I believe this is his 3rd Olympic team, and Steph Curry, which is his 1st Olympic team. Coming up in hour number 3, friend of the program, Devon Pouncey, joins the show. But hour number 2 of Rip City Morning starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. I am your host, Justin Myers. We have got a jam-packed hour number 2. Make or Miss coming up in approximately 20 minutes. Oh, something happened to me this weekend. I think it's a very relatable and appropriate get off my lawn, as it has to do with lawn equipment. But you will all get off my lawn coming up in approximately 43 and a half minutes coming up in a bit. And Deion Sanders says he knows where he's going to allow both Shedeur Sanders, his son, and Travis Hunter, outstanding two-way player at Colorado, where he will allow them to play. More on that in a moment. But super producer Brenden said something interesting. Now, I have tried my best because I've been very vocal. Health and fitness has changed my life. I am a firm believer in health and fitness. Now, I realize that not a lot of people want to hear, by not a lot of people, I mean zero, zilch, none, nada. Nobody wants to hear me talking about how much I love fitness and how important it is to me, blah, blah, blah. I get it. And I have tried every once in a while to sprinkle a little bit on young Brenden. I'm like, maybe go to the gym. Maybe hit up the gym a little bit. Maybe break a little sweat. You feel good. Get some energy out. I've tried, but I don't think I've pushed. I don't think I have. All right, you see it very differently. But I don't feel like I have pushed it. I have just, you ask my opinion, I will get. Now, you have said that over the last couple of weeks, you were going to make a decision, because the entire time you and I have been on this show together, which is now over 3 years, Brenden, you have had a gym membership.
I signed up for it New Year's resolution 2023.
Got it.
So yeah, only a year and some, or 2 year and some change. Yeah.
I feel like you had.
Yeah, I've talked about it, but never.
Okay.
It was January.
Well, over a year.
Yes.
You have had a gym membership,
and the premium one too. At that.
But you haven't really
utilized
it a lot. And you said last February, said I made a decision. I'm either going to go, or I'm going to finally go in and cancel it, which, by the way, is very, very difficult. If you're to cancel a gym membership, they don't make it easy on
Pay
you.
in the rear.
Like a self-addressed stamped envelope. You got to write a snail mail, give 4 reasons why. And then you said last time, you're like, well, now you've created a system where you, if you go to the gym, you then reward yourself
with tanning.
With tanning. That's not healthy.
I don't know what
just slipped out. I'm sorry. Just slipped out. You do you.
So I tanned for the first time this last weekend ever in a stand-up tanning bed, and my self-confidence was through the roof. For the day.
The roof.
So yeah,
okay.
I learned I can't tan any more than every 2 days. So
is that like just your own personal preference, or is that their rule?
That's a Planet Fitness rule.
Okay.
So I won't go any sooner than 2 days, and after I sit my butt on the elliptical and the bike for an hour, then
break a sweat, burn some calories.
So
you get in the tanning bed.
Yep. It was a darn good feeling, man. I might have been missing out for 28 years.
I used to back in the day, believe it or not. Your boy used to Because I like.
Tanning's solid. I'm not sure I could ever spray tan. I don't think I could pull that off. But man, just sitting in front of them warm lights, kind of nice.
Anybody that's watching on YouTube or anybody that's listening to this particular program know that I have red hair. Some people like to call it a certain thing. I don't like to use the G. I don't like to use the G word. Okay, doesn't like. We don't like that. I'm just going to throw that out there. But there was a time in my life, interestingly enough, around your age, where this whole health and fitness thing in my world got going, and I dropped some lbs, picked up some dropped from an XL to an L to a medium shirt, and it was summer coming up, and I'm like, I want to go to the pool, I want to go out to the lake, I want to go float the river, and I'm like, I am pasty white. So I tried tanning for a little bit. It was a bad idea. It's a bad idea. You probably are able to tan. You've got that dark hair, that dark eyes, probably able to. You're like
the olive. I like to call it the olive skin.
After sunburn, maybe you will. I sunburn and then peel and then just get more freckles.
Yeah, it takes a lot for me to burn, and my burns, like I burned like the first day in Florida. By the time I got to the end of the trip, it was a tan. So
yeah, I don't do that. I was trying. Like, I'm like, maybe I'll go and I'll hit this tanning bed, and maybe I'll get like a base. And I was like, yeah, no.
It's almost
Justin, the good Lord blessed you with a lot of things, but he did not give you skin that has the ability to tan. So I live in SPF 50, and I just when I go to a resort in April, I'm the pasty white guy there. That's what happens.
It's funny you say that because my best friend is the same way. We can go, we went to Florida together a few years ago, and what takes him, even when we go floating in the summer, it's like, all right, he's going to take about 15 minutes, put on his SPF, and I do, and that's all I need. So it's kind of interesting how different skin tones can really determine whether or not you burn, or like I've got 2 people in my family who are like me and don't burn, and 2 who you show them the sun and they burn. So it's kind of interesting.
That's me, yep. I even I'm in the studio. If the sun pops out, I'm like, ugh, I don't know. I might.
But
burn.
yeah, so I'm excited for this is the final week of Oregon State spring football. Then I get a little more free
time. What are they
time.
doing on Saturday? Do they have a plan for Saturday? Is it going to be a spring game? Is it going to be a spring showcase?
They told
Have they mentioned what they're planning on doing? Because usually you want to let the people know.
Yeah,
Don't you? Usually, like by Tuesday of the week, you want to like let the people know what's going to be going on.
They said they want to play a game, but it's going to probably depend on Lions' health. Because again, to play a game, you need 20 offensive linemen ready to go, right? Because you need first team, second, and that can be a lot. And I think it'd be close. Other than that, I expect it to be a little bit more aggressive than it had been under Smith, because Trent Bray seems to be a little bit more conscientious that it's an opportunity to sell your program, and an opportunity to sell your program at a time when your fan base is like, where's the next cliff we have to jump off of?
Oregon State right now, not that I would ever speak for Oregon State fans. I know they all hate me. But right now, the thing that I think Oregon State fans need the most is like an actual like football being played. Right now, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen until Labor Day weekend, right? Who do they open up with Labor Day weekend? They got
Idaho.
Was it Idaho State that playing the Bengals, I think? But that's not going to happen until Labor Day weekend. But
Idaho State, yeah, I should know this, but hey, folks, it's been an odd journey to build this schedule. So
understood.
We play Oregon the 14th of September, people. Come on.
It's going to be an interesting game.
Yes, it will be.
That September Civil War is going to be weird. Anyways,
but it's going to be hot, right?
Probably beautiful.
Knowing our
probably going to be beautiful. It's going to be it's going to be weird having Civil War with short sleeves.
Oregon will be like, you think you're going to get a nice CW? No. And it'll be September rain.
Our entire, could you imagine if the universe just goes, nope, try again.
Yeah.
Toilet bowl will not die.
That'd be pretty great.
But my entire life, your entire life, like that game.
Number 12.
Usually marred by some sort of weather, right? It usually was, if not, like very rarely were there Civil War games where it's like, this is a beautiful November day. Like it's rain, there's wind, right? There's Even if bitter cold.
Yeah, maybe you got a cold and dry, and you're like, oh, it's 35, but it's dry and sunny. You're like, it's hot.
And now we're gonna be wearing short sleeves and sunglasses at Civil War on the 14th. That's gonna be weird. I did want to talk about this quickly, just a couple of minutes. Peter Schrager from Good Morning Football also works for the NFL Network. He released his first mock draft. Draft's coming up a week and 2 days, I think, away from the first round. He's got Caleb Williams going number 1 overall to the Bears, Jaden Daniels to the Washington Commanders, and Drake May to the New England Patriots. So he's got 3 quarterbacks going 1, 2, and 3. This is the most interesting move here. And I don't get it, but apparently this is going to be a thing. And I could have egg all over my face, but he's got the New York Giants moving up, trading with the Arizona Cardinals. Because the Arizona Cardinals are financially committed to Kyler Murray. They're not going to be drafting a quarterback. So the Giants moving up to pick 4 to take J.J. McCarthy as the 4th quarterback in the draft taken. So 4 quarterbacks taken: Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. This is from Peter Schrager. J.J. McCarthy. I know I'm a homer. I know it. I know I am biased. I know that I am a duck honk, and I love Bo Nix. Is there any way J.J. McCarthy's better than Bo Nix at the next level? Now again, I could end up looking like a big dumb doofus when this is all said and done. But I do not understand the J.J. McCarthy obsession, especially when you've got a guy like Bo Nix just kind of sitting out there.
Yeah, I don't think that you can.
The other guys I get. I don't get the J.J. McCarthy.
I don't know if you can make any declaration. That's the thing we've learned. You can't until you see them play. Like, again, I'm trying to think of the most recent example, but like, Justin, you and I can jump in a time machine. And right when we started working this program together, it was, well, Trevor Lawrence is great, but this Zach Wilson guy, BYU, he's going to be a stud, man. At least.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a bust. We can't believe it in this group, but there will be a bust out of this group. Maybe not a bust, but like someone.
No, there's going to be a bust.
So there you go.
There will be, especially because we don't, like in the NFL anymore, like I said, it's not for long, and that's quarterbacks now. Not for long, because the Bears have moved on from Justin Fields. Like, we're done, and we're moving on. We may talk some draft coming up later on the big show. I do want to talk about Deion Sanders coming up in the big show as well, but do want to tell you about the good folks at DeBella. That's right. DeBella is Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. And you may have written a pretty sizable check yesterday to the federal government. You might be thinking, Justin, how am I going to afford to pay for home improvements? Well, I'll tell you how. How about no payments until 2025 on approved credit? And during that entire time, making your home more energy efficient means you are saving money on your energy bill. That's right. Not only did you write maybe a check to the government, but your monthly checks to the or maybe direct deposit because it's 2024. But you know those payments you make to the utility company? Those might be coming down. Plus, you could maybe potentially pay for a brand new roof just by going solar. That's right. Federal and state incentives plus energy efficiency that gives you savings in your energy bill could potentially pay for the new roof going with solar. DeBella's got all the details. Check them out today for a free, no obligation appointment, no payments until 2025 on approved credit. Your Oregon experts for roofing, windows, siding, and bath projects. They are DeBella. By the way, I love First Take. I do. I love First Take. Because every once in a while I'll look up, because, you know, you get a little self-conscious. You go like, man, how intriguing are the topics that we are bringing up? And then I'll look up at First Take and be like, is it a failed season if the Lakers or the Warriors miss the playoffs? Yeah, it is. That's what failure is. Missing the playoffs is a failure. Blazers are rebuilding. Even the Rockets are rebuilding. The Utah Jazz, failure. They didn't make the playoffs. The Lakers, who have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, if they don't make the playoffs, yeah, that's a failure of a season. The Warriors, who have essentially the same roster that won the NBA championship 2 years ago, that team, if they don't make the playoffs, we're half the league, actually over half the league, right? There's 30 teams in the NBA. 16 make the playoffs. 20 make the postseason. Because I don't count the play-in as the play. Would you count that as the playoffs? The lottery doesn't count it.
It's not. It's not the playoffs.
It's not the playoffs.
No,
if you
it's
go
not.
like, if the Warriors win tonight but then lose to the Lakers or the Pelicans, you can't really say the Warriors made the playoffs. So 16 of 30 teams make the playoffs. 20 make the postseason. Yeah, if they don't make the playoffs, it's a failure. You've got Hall of Famers on your roster. You should be better. Also, by the way, the majority, a handful of those Hall of Famers, leading Team USA. You know, the team's supposed to go win the gold medal being led by guys who led their teams to 10 seeds and 8 seeds in the West. Never mind Now, Anthony Edwards is on that roster as well. That's good. But our Team USA is going to be old. Time for Make or Miss? Have I trailed off enough? All right, let's go. Let's open up Make or Miss. I understand when I throw out some things and you don't respond, you're like, yeah, it's time for Make or Miss, dude.
You know, sometimes
you engage, and then sometimes you're like, yeah, I need to hit this button.
Well, you know, that's it's kind of like the old saying. Sometimes you don't need to always interject, and that's something I'm trying to pick and choose my spots, Justin. And obviously, I've got to make sure to keep enough time for Make and Miss, clock integrity, and all that.
Let's go, crushing it.
We're on top of it, man. But yeah, let's go ahead and open up Make or Miss here on a Tuesday. Let's start here because this story was interesting to me. Justin, you're probably going to roll your eyes and be like, we already talked about it, but OJ's lawyer was quick to walk back his comments.
I missed it. Which lawyer? Because he had 57 of them. Is this Dershowitz? Is this...
This was the lawyer who
is this,
in charge of the estate. So this is the...
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so on Friday, and I discussed this with my buddy over the weekend because I thought it was so out there. On Friday, he gave a interview to the Las Vegas Review-Journal saying that
OJ's primary lawyer now,
who is handling
not a member of the Dream Team,
No.
not Robert Shapiro,
Yep.
not Alan Dershowitz, not F. Lee Bailey.
Yep.
Is F. Lee Bailey still alive? I don't
No,
know.
he was the first.
Is he the first to go?
I believe. Yeah.
And Johnny Cochran's gone
Yep.
too, and
Yep.
obviously Kardashian might have been.
He was quick too with the cancer, and then Bob Shapiro is obviously still kicking.
Yeah, he's Legal Zoom.
Oh,
Is that his thing?
I can't say, but
Anyways.
regardless. So the lawyer who's handling basically the death, the estate, everything else, and when someone dies,
Probate, I believe, is what this is called.
Exactly.
This is a probate lawyer.
So he said and told the Las Vegas Review-Journal last week and kind of peacocked, as I'd like to say, and said his hope was that, quote, the Goldmans get zero, comma, nothing. He would do everything in his capacity as the executor or personal representative to ensure they get nothing.
What is wrong with people?
Now,
What did they realize? OJ murdered his son.
You're
Like,
right,
they
and
know
this-
that. I know that the whole Goldman, and by the way, I respect the Goldman family, who's just like, we're not giving up. Like, we are going to be a burr in your saddle for your entire life. Why? Because you murdered my child. His blood in your Bronco, locked. You didn't know him. His blood on your glove in your backyard. Like, we're done
again,
here.
Per the letter.
On your sock, by the way, and you didn't know the guy. So what is wrong with this lawyer?
So
why wouldn't you just be like, look, there's a legal process here. Just give the stock legal answer. What is wrong with people?
So again, they can kind of make more you can make more insinuations with this because this is tied to the civil case, as Justin mentioned. He was not found guilty in a criminal trial, but he was found guilty in the civil trial, which
found
resulted
responsible, yeah,
in this $33.5 million. Now, this morning, and the reason this is an added make or miss, about 20 minutes ago, telephone call. That lawyer radically changed his mind.
Yeah.
And goes, I can tell you in advance, Fred Goldman's claim will be accepted, and his claim will be handled in accordance with Nevada law.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or you're going to get disbarred.
Uh-huh. So I wonder, he claims those were his remarks then. They were pretty harsh. I'm now going in the other direction. So my bet with this was he came out and said all this, and then somebody said, either
you can't do that.
We're going to sue you, or, like, again, Justin, someone somehow, some way is going to get some of that money. And, I don't know how it's all going to work, what OJ actually has to his name anymore. Certainly not a Heisman, but
this is the last thing I'm going to say on this, because now that OJ is gone and moving forward, and the thing about this whole OJ, and I got wrapped up in it as well, because, again, I was prime in high school during the Bronco chase, during the verdict and everything, right? I was prime pop culture for your boy. Yeah, 2 people were murdered. That is a real thing. That happened. It seems like a TV show. You know what I mean? We watch TV shows. We watch Game of Thrones. People get thrown into, fire pits, and spoiler alert, like Ned Stark's head comes off. It's been like 8
Very
years.
true.
It's been 8 years, okay? And it's
Poor
like it's like a TV show. This was not a TV show. I know they made it into a TV show, but in real life, this was not a TV show. And Fred Goldman's son, who was just trying to return some glasses, gets murdered by a Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah. And then you're going to be like, I hope he gets nothing. It's like, what is wrong with you? How did he become the villain in all this?
I found it very interesting.
Your client murdered his son.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is that, creditors, when someone passes away, will always get their money. That's just how it works. So I'm very curious to see, like,
you watch next. Here's my prediction. The
What
next
happens
thing
next?
about this is, there's no money there. That'll be the claim. Well, there's just no money there.
Yeah.
Because that's what OJ was trying to do over the years. He was
was.
giving away stuff, so he didn't have to sell it off.
That's why he went to Florida, because Florida wasn't going to come after him for certain things. I mean,
Yeah.
he played all the games, man. But again, I found it interesting that, like you said, they're still in line, but, Fred Goldman's in his 80s and is like, not about the money. The real opportunity for justice is gone. So, it's one of those things that, like Justin said, probably the last time we ever mentioned it on this show.
I would hope so.
But nevertheless.
Other than when I'm feeling nostalgic and I want to tell you about life before the internet, and the best way to explain life before the internet is the Bronco chase.
But no, it absolutely baffled me, because I was having this as a sports bar conversation with my buddy over the weekend, where I'm like, look at this headline. This is the #1 headline on Saturday morning on ESPN. This attorney says, I will fight the Goldmans. That's the hill you want to die on?
I know. It's
in
just I don't
2024?
understand.
Yeah, so
I don't
anyway,
understand it.
like I said, some
Like your client, like OJ's dead now. You don't have to pretend like
yeah.
to believe his completely made up delusional lies anymore. You can actually just go about being a human being now and be like, I killed 2 people. Let's maybe give them some millions of dollars, and maybe hopefully everybody can try their best to move
And you
forward.
see, Justin, to your point, you're like, it wasn't a TV show. Did it make it worse that they made maybe the best FX series ever, and basically anyone who wasn't around got a 10-hour version of what that was like.
It was a pop culture moment in our world that, I mean, that it was really well done. Like Cuba Gooding Jr., man.
Yeah, so I said really well done. All right, let's.
Is that the best FX show ever? What else is in the mix? Is Always Sunny's an FX show.
So I've never watched Atlanta, but I know that was a very popular show.
All right, Atlanta came out, and I watched the entire first season, and I don't think it was for me.
Yeah,
I don't think I was the targeted audience. I didn't quite get it.
Fargo's quite good. I haven't watched Shogun, but I've heard that's quite good.
Yeah, I don't know what Shogun is. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's FX.
The Bear is going to be in contention for me.
Okay, I forget that The Bear is an FX show because I watch it on Hulu.
FX on Hulu, baby.
Yeah, so I forget that it's actually an FX show.
Because Hulu owns FX. Yeah.
Boom.
So,
Bear's so good.
It is. We get it back in June. Dude, this is going to be Brendan's summer of TV.
When is it going to fall? Are you worried it's going to fall off?
Nah.
Season 3, Season 4, right? Those are, other than your precious Breaking Bad, those are where sometimes it gets a little wonky. Even Yellowstone Season 3. Go back and watch Season 3. It's a little weird.
No, Season 3 is. I'll give you that for Yellowstone. GOT didn't go down till about 7. So I'll
is that what we call Game of Thrones now?
GOT.
Game of Thrones? Is that what we call it?
When in in college when I didn't get it and everybody else got it. That's what they called it. Was GOT.
Okay.
And it's a little easier to say. But be that all as it may, yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be up there, man. Just that American crime story series. Obviously, I think the OJ one is the best. But I enjoyed the Bill Clinton one a couple years. I think they do a pretty good job with that series. But I'd probably give
the Versace one was scary as hell.
I actually never
scary.
saw that one, so that one would be on my list of things to watch.
It's pretty creepy, probably because it's real.
You never watched American Horror Story, did you?
I don't watch horror.
Yeah, so that had some
do not do
moments
horror
too.
movies. Don't do horror TV shows. I don't do it. No, thank you. Do you see Kevin Costner says he's willing to do multiple seasons of Yellowstone now?
Yeah, and you know what that is? I just shot my 4-part Western, mortgaged 4 of my houses to come up with the money to give Warner Brothers what they needed to do these films. You guys are paying me $1 million per episode. Can we go back to that? So funny how that works. I would love to see Kevin Costner back, but I also respect Taylor Sheridan being like, you left.
We've
tried to blow this up to make your Western.
It's been can I just say hot take? And I know it's not Friday. Hot take. It's been too long. It's been too long. Yellowstone, sorry. You mentioned Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad, right? Like I think it was probably similar timelines.
Was there a gap in between, you mean, between seasons?
But like it's been too long. It's been almost a year and a half.
Let's see. So okay.
Because it wrapped up like last winter.
Okay, so I'll ask you this then. To your point, Game of Thrones was year by year until the final season.
Yeah.
They went, end of 7 was summer of 17. You didn't get season 8 until spring of 19.
Yeah, and then guess what happened?
It was the worst season they had.
Nobody liked it.
That's a good point.
Too long.
So you're saying like albums.
You gotta stay fresh.
Strike while the iron's hot.
You go into vacation and you take your foot off the gas.
So to that point, I did see when I read about The Bear yesterday.
The only show that's been able to pull it off has been Curb Your Enthusiasm.
It's true.
Curb goes away, it comes back, still awesome.
It's true.
Still awesome.
But I did see that The Bear, Justin, they decided because they're like, okay, we don't know when we're going to do this again. Shot 3 and 4 back to back. So
Boom.
It was filmed back to back. So I'm curious to know what that ultimately looks like.
That I like.
Yeah, no, it's we'll see if it lives up to the comedy billing. Justin,
it's not a comedy.
He had a hot take last year that it was not a comedy.
It's not a comedy.
See, I mean, I could go either way. It's a dramedy.
It's not even a drama. It's a drama. It's not a barrel of laughs. Anyways, all right. Do we have another?
I hear you. It's a fair take. All right, let's keep moving along here and make or miss. It's kind of crazy Steph has never played in the Olympics.
That is kind of. You told me that, and I was like, nah. Oh, yeah. Well, because here's one of the reasons probably why. There was about a 5-year stretch where Steph was always playing in the NBA Finals, Right? How many NBA finals in a row did Steph play? Did he play like 5?
Give me a moment. Give me
But
just,
he was always in the NBA finals, and you played that much into June every single season. It's a little bit of a tough turnaround.
5 straight years there in the finals.
5 straight years. Any of those Olympic years? Probably.
That was so it would have been
2016?
14. Well, yes, okay, so you're right. 16. So yes, 2012 he was not quite good.
He wasn't there yet. He wasn't at that
there
level.
yet. So,
So
12,
20
16, and then 20. So really, it's only 3 Olympic cycles.
And the first one, he wouldn't have been on that team because he wasn't Steph Curry yet.
Second one, yeah, that was the
Second
year
one, he was been in the middle of a 5-year run going into the finals. And here's the other thing.
That was his unanimous MVP.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think he was like, I want to go golf. I don't want to lose my summer
And then
to go play for Team USA.
he passed on the one that Dame went to. That
In
one I know
2020.
for sure. He was just like, I don't want to do it during COVID, all that stuff.
Mhm.
So, and as you remember, Justin, he might not have been exactly the same time as it was later. Steph, as you remember, dealt with an injury during COVID, broke his hand.
That's
right?
also true. So,
So-
it makes sense, but you told me that, and I was like, there's no...
It's
oh.
crazy, isn't it?
Especially because the
I wanna see
international
Steph
game
in
is
the Olympics.
all about shooting, right? It's shooting and it is defending, and that's like Team USA had to learn that lesson the hard way back in 2004. But you have to put shooters on this team. So I like that Steph is going to be on the team, even though, like I said, got a lot of old guys, but he at least can shoot. He gets open looks at an international 3-point line. Like, yeah, he's going to knock down a bunch of shots.
Unlike a silly,
Is
useless-
America the favorite? If we just sit right now and just put our brains
I mean,
together.
you tell me. Well, I'll ask you this, Justin. If you are...
Because France is going to be a bit of a wagon, right?
France has 2 7-footers. This guy named Rudy Gobert and this guy named Victor Wembanyama.
And
they'll put them on the floor together.
New guy going to play?
Rupert?
Not Rupert, the other guy.
he might get an
The
invite.
7'2" guy.
Oh, Alex Sarr.
Is Sarr going to play? Probably.
That's a good question.
You
I
might
don't.
have 3 7-footers on France, 2 of which are able to hit 3-pointers. I know Team Canada is going to be pretty good. If Shea Gilgeous-Alexander plays, but
Nothing yet for
Okay.
his thoughts on the Olympics. They said it could be in there, but right now he's hyper focused on the NBA draft. So I don't know. It's European teams are a little bit different. Like they kind of grab all the like that's why I said like Ryan Rupert may even get like a invite because there aren't a ton of guys who are NBA. Like what I
doesn't
mean?
Nicholas Batum still play? Didn't he play last
He should
time
play.
around? Like in the international, like the Euro Cup. I think Batum was on Team France, like in the Euro Cup, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, and he's still rocking with the 76ers, so he'll get an invite for sure.
So, but France might be tough.
I mean, I remember very specifically because I watched, I believe it was either the gold medal or the silver or the game before it. I watched when the USA played France back in 2021, and I was like, man, they had to like come back and beat France. Like it was a couple years ago. Like it wasn't easy for Dame to get that medal, Justin. Like it still took like anything Damian Lillard does has to be hard, and that was hard a couple years ago. Now watching this group, they'll probably just ride LeBron and Steph. I mean, yeah, I'm excited to see those two play together in a non-All-Star game format.
Australia got the bronze 3
They'll
years
have
ago.
Josh Giddey. They'll have.
We'll see.
Well-
Is Josh Giddey allowed to travel internationally?
I told you he was clear, Justin. Adam Silver didn't say he created a cardinal sin of the league. That was just Jonte Porter. But no, he's cleared.
Okay, so Josh Giddey can
He's back.
travel international. He
He's
has his
playing for the
passport.
Thunder. Yes.
He
He
might be
has his passport.
closely monitored though in the Olympic Village. I would assume we're keeping an eye on you, Giddey. We know who you are, and we are keeping an eye on you. All right, coming up next. I've got to get off my lawn to wrap up hour number 2 next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up hour number 2. It is Tuesday. It is that particular time. You know how I love to cite statistical evidence that Tuesday, it's the grumpiest day of the week. It's where we maybe have our shortest fuse, our least amount of patience, because on Monday, on Monday, we hunker down. We know what's coming. Big week ahead. Wednesday, well, that's hump day. Thursday, Friday, we're rolling into the weekend. Tuesday, it's still early, and your patience was already used up on Monday, and we get a little snappy every once in a while. So I feel like the best way to do that is to let it out. Let's get that negativity out. We want to be a sunshine, puppy dogs, and rainbows on this program, right? We want to be nothing but the marshmallows in the Lucky Charms. That's what we want to be. That's the good vibes, not the regular cereal part, but the marshmallow part. We want to be nothing but the Crunch Berries, not the Captain Crunch. All the good stuff. But every once in a while, you know what? You got to let that negativity out. And we do that in this segment each and every day. And I embrace some of the things, the tiny, little, minute things that bother me. And I let it out now so that I don't let it fester and explode. We have called it Get Off My Lawn. Here we go. It is lawn season, by the way, and I am trying my best to make sure that I have the best lawn in the neighborhood, because that's what you do when you get in your 40s and you buy a house. You, out of nowhere, really, really care about how your lawn looks. And so right now it is lawn season. And, yeah, I'm working on, weed and feed. Got to get the dandelions out of there because, winter comes around, all of a sudden spring. It's like, where did all these weeds come from? So on Sunday, before I got hunkered in to watch the Masters, got up bright and early, went to an estate sale. Wife's looking for a new dining room table. There's a big old warehouse out in, I think it's either Beaverton or Tigard, either way. There's a big old warehouse, and it's like a bunch of people who's sadly moved on and passed away, but their stuff is up for sale. And it doesn't have the awkwardness of going to an actual estate. You ever been to an estate sale? It's awkward.
Yeah, sure.
Like, there's garage sales, which is one thing, but like an estate sale where it's like you're at the house and it's like there was somebody that lived here and they don't anymore. But this isn't a warehouse, right? So you just so you go there and you're just looking, see what you can find. And I got real excited. I got pumped up because I saw in the corner, because it's not just, furniture and old clothes and kitchen appliances and things like that. Oh, there's some power tools, Brenden. Your boy loves power tools. And I look in the corner at this estate sale. There's a weed whacker. It's got my name written all over it. And I am pumped, because this is a great deal on this weed whacker. And I grab it and I'm like, oh, okay. It's a battery-operated weed whacker. But I know this brand, Brenden, and I have this brand of other stuff. Matter of fact, I have the lawnmower, because I got a battery-operated lawnmower. Shout out to the environment. So I got a battery-operated lawnmower, the same brand. And I'm like, so this weed whacker does not have a battery. Probably.
Does it start with an R, the company?
It does. It's the green brand. So they're in the power tool world. There's the orange brand, there's the yellow brand, there's the red brand, and there's the green brand. Okay. Now I am inefficient in putting together my collection of tools. I have batteries for all the brands. All right. I got them all. I got the orange, I got the yellow, I got the red, and I got the green. Now my lawnmower is green. My lawnmower comes with a battery. And I'm like, clearly, the same battery that fits into my lawnmower is going to fit into this weed whacker. And I'm like, pumped. I am pumped. I'm like, sweet. There's a reason why this weed whacker is still sitting around, because there's no battery to it. And the batteries they're fairly expensive. More on that in a couple of minutes. But I'm like, I have worked the system, I got myself a nice, inexpensive weed whacker, and I'm just going to go home, hook that battery right up. I'm going to be hammering weeds in a matter of minutes. Then I find out the thing that drives me up a wall. Because they know what they're doing, these companies, whether it's the yellow, the orange, the red, or the green. They know what they're doing. Just like the tech companies, when they switch out the cords every couple of years, they switch out the batteries every couple of years. Then to find out that my battery, Brenden, it doesn't fit. It does not fit. This is not it. The weed whacker that I bought was an older model than the lawnmower, older by maybe a year or two. And then they changed out batteries. They put in a different style of battery, an upgraded style of battery. Supposed to be better for you and me, only to make people like me go back to the Home Depot, because it's the green one. They only sell them at the Home Depot, and buy a new battery. So now I have a weed whacker in my garage that cannot work. And the only way it can work is if I go and I buy a new battery for the old weed whacker, because the battery in my lawnmower does not fit. Home Depot, I'm looking. We had a bond. Home Depot, you and I, we had a bond. We had a connection. I love the smell of a Home Depot when I walk in. And now I walk into Home Depot. I'll be honest, Brenden, I'm a little irritated. I'm a little irritated with them. Because the brand that is exclusive to the Home Depot, the green brand, if you know what I'm saying, that starts with an R. I went and looked up online how much it's going to cost to get a battery to get this weed whacker working. I might as well buy a brand new weed whacker. Might as well. Like,
I hate that.
The battery's worth more than 10 weed whackers, what I paid for. So now I have a bat. So now, there's anyone within my listening audience that has a battery for the green brand, starts with an R, that might or may not fit. I don't know, because I've got a battery for the lawnmower that I thought, because it would make sense, Brenden. Lawnmower, weed whacker, hedge trimmer go hand in hand. You would think the battery would just go. No. This is the plus battery, and I need the minus battery, apparently. So, to the green branded people, and by the way, to the orange and the yellow and the red people, too, because they know exactly what they are doing, because all of them swap out their batteries to make sure that every time you upgrade and buy something, you got to buy yourself a new battery on top of that every single time. To all of you, I say, get right off my lawn. Get right off my lawn. How hard is it to have a universal battery? I buy your stuff.
It's hard. We can't even come up with, we have AA, AAA, Ds, Cs, watch batteries, 9 volts. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that. But I know that at least my remote and like all the AA batteries, they all fit. Could you imagine if all of a sudden your remote's like, yeah, this takes a AA, but not that one, not the Duracell. No, you need the other, like. So yeah, got a weed whacker. It's not working. You know what is working? Hour number 3. Devon Pouncey joins the show coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA play-in tournament begins tonight in the West. Sacramento and Golden State will be facing off. Loser is 3-2-1 Cancun. Winner moves on to face the loser of New Orleans and Los Angeles. New Orleans, 1.5 favorite against the Lakers. Golden State, 3.5 favorites against the Sacramento Kings. Caitlin Clark goes number 1 overall. No surprise there to the Indiana Fever in the WNBA draft. Stanford and local standout Cameron Brink. Shout out to Cameron Brink, goes number 2 overall to the LA Sparks. 2024 Olympic team will be headlined by LeBron James and Steph Curry. Steph Curry's first Olympic team. He's headed to Paris this summer. Devon Pouncey is going to be joining us here in hour number 3. We got a lot of hoops to talk about as the postseason officially begins tonight. Talk some Olympic team, and is there drama with Dame in Milwaukee? Hour 3 starts right now at 6:20, Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome into hour number 3, everybody. It is Rip City Mornings. I'm your host, Justin Myers. A lot of stuff to dive into here in the third hour as we're going to get Devon Pouncey up and in the studio in just a handful of minutes. Obviously, a lot of stuff to dive into with regard to the Blazers, where it goes from here. Exit interviews were yesterday, and we heard from Joe Cronin, we heard from Chauncey Billups, we heard from a handful of players, and a lot of it was what you would expect, right? A lot of it is cliches. Hey, we need to get better. I'm 100% committed, and then the thing I took from Joe Cronin and kind of from the organization is this is still going to be an ongoing process. And I think as Blazer fans, we all need to hunker down, that this is going to be an ongoing process, that they are not near competitive. Because I know a lot of Blazer fans, a handful of people every once in a while say, when are they going to start winning? When is the light at the end of the tunnel? When is this tanking and rebuilding and ripping it down to the studs? And when is this finally going to bear some fruit? And it doesn't look like next year is going to be the year. But this is the tough part of rebuilding. And this one is a unique rebuild, right? Not all rebuilds, not all complete reconstruction of a roster is created equal. And I know we all got very, very excited looking at Oklahoma City, right? It was just 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago when Dame waved off the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we thought, well, that team is now going to be irrelevant for a long, long time. Well, they were irrelevant for about 3 years. But with that, they built up a roster, were competitive last year, and now they're the number 1 seed in the West. But here's the difference. They were able to get a guy, the caliber of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that I'm sure if you go back with True Serum and ask the Los Angeles Clippers, and especially with the number 1 seed being the Thunder and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being at least in the top 3 of MVP voting, I don't know if the LA Clippers would be willing to give that guy up, even to get Paul George. But you look at other rebuilding efforts. Clearly, trust the process. Philadelphia 76ers, the one that I think we all are most familiar with. The 76ers went 4 years of being awful. Awful. And here's the other thing, because I am guilty of it as well. When you are dealing with a rebuilding, you obviously get very excited about the draft, and everybody's excited about the potential for some ping pong balls and where potentially that the Blazers are going to fall. But if you go back and look at the 76ers, and even in the trust the process era, they didn't hit home runs with every one of their high-level draft picks, right? There's a Markelle Fultz in there. Yeah, you got Joel Embiid. And you got, for a time, You got for a time a guy in Ben Simmons who looked to be, kind of the real deal. And then, well, a handful of things happened. Maybe it was too much too soon. Maybe it was the fact that once the book got out that he couldn't shoot, and then that whole thing with him not attempting a three became such a psychological hurdle to get over that and then maybe it was just a lot of money on a guy that wasn't all that excited about playing basketball. But it wasn't like the Sixers, who over the last couple of years have been in the mix, and I know they're in the play-in now, but with Embiid healthy, I don't know how well that matchup is going to be with the Knicks in the first round, if in fact that is the matchup with the Knicks and the 76ers. So you go back and look at that rebuild. They didn't knock every draft pick out of the park, but they got one. They got one that popped, and that's all they needed. But you're in the middle of a rebuild. 4 years kind of seems like the bare minimum. Yeah, I know Oklahoma City did it in 3, but like I said, sometimes you get lucky and a team gives up on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and they look back and go, what the heck did we do? All right, Pounce is in the building.
That's right.
Good to have you. Good to have you here.
Good to
Appreciate
be
it. Got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yes.
But I was kind of talking about now. Season's over for the Blazers.
For sure.
Looking back, evaluation, and kind of looking forward. And Brenden, do you have that Joe Cronin clip? I want to play Pounce, the Joe Cronin clip, because I think a lot of Blazer fans, Pounce, are in the spot where it's like, all right, where do we go from here? Because this is 3 years now, no postseason, 3 years now of kind of playing for the draft, kind of playing the game of tanking in the NBA. And I think there's a lot of fans going like, when is this light at the end of the tunnel? And this is Joe Cronin yesterday kind of talking about focus of the Blazers moving forward.
Well, we're heavily invested in our, in a lot of our young guys. So development will continue to be a focus. We're not going to win at an extremely high level until some of those guys are ready. But at the same time, it's our job to give them the best environment to thrive in. And often that's with additional help. I think this year there were some flaws in the roster, especially in some missing skill sets and just in general imbalance, where it made it complicated for those guys to reach their highest potential. There's skill sets we need to add, like we need more shooters. We've got to open up the floor for guys. We need more playmaking. We need more defenders. There's a lot of things we need. So we're going to continue to evaluate how do we supplement the existing group that we have, but at the same time, not ignoring we're not good enough yet. We don't have enough talent. Like, we've got to keep boosting our talent base. And, it might be our most, important thing we do this summer is keep adding to this talent base.
All right, beyond him saying they kind of need everything.
Yeah.
Shooters, playmakers, defenders. That's kind of it. That's kind of everything.
Two ways, that's for sure.
The thing that I kind of took from that when he said, look, development and not going to be able to win at a level until that young core is ready. If I'm reading between the lines, Pounce, it sounds like this rebuild's not really close. Not really closer than it was, I guess, at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But I think for maybe the pipe dream, like myself or maybe other Blazer fans, that, okay, now is the time where they turn the corner. It doesn't sound like that's where they're at.
Yeah, they're still young.
Yeah.
They're still young. They still got a rookie point guard, in Scoot, who I think, for all intents and purposes, showed some good signs.
Last 20 games was very, very productive. He needed that. And
yes.
I think the Blazers needed that.
I agree 100%, especially going into the offseason, especially with a team that dealt with so many injuries that can kind of leave you confused or just in the land of the unknown, because you don't know which way you want to go when you have a different lineup out there every night. And, you have guys that you have expectations of, but they're unavailable to be able to live up to those expectations. So I think it was a good sign knowing that, Scoot was able to come out in those last 20 games of the season and get acclimated after dealing with just being a rookie and some injury as well, and show why it was that he was picked number 3 overall in the draft. And so I do agree with you that this is still a really young team. And obviously Cronin acknowledged that, they're still planning to build around the young guys. But while they were in the land of the unknown a lot this year, I do believe that this is an offseason where, unlike in years past, there's nobody that you have to be attached to. And I think that was very important and was something that he acknowledged, in talking to each of the players in the exit interviews as well, is that, hey, I got to go find guys to replace you. So you can either improve and get better at whatever it is that we're discussing that you can improve and get better at, or I'm going to have to go out there and find better talent and guys that can do what you do and some, to be able to bring them over here to kind of boost that talent base around here. And I think that's not the worst problem to have, knowing that you're not really attached to have to stick with anybody with this team. And that allows you to go out there and make some movements.
It is interesting, too. This is the first time, because remember, Dame was still on the roster last summer when the draft happened.
Right.
And I think this is the first draft the Blazers are going to go in, even having like the third best odds to potentially get that number one pick, but at very worst, sixth, probably somewhere, though, in that top five, which we talk about all the time. That's where you kind of build your futures in that top five range.
Yeah.
Is you're not going to have a lot of, hot air guys like me on the air going like, well, how do they help Dame?
Right.
This is the first draft that going in, you don't have to help Dame.
Exactly.
You have to help the roster.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It's like you don't have to be attached to anybody from this season in particular. So I think, for them, while yes, there's a lot of unknowns because a lot of guys were unavailable for such a significant part of the year, I do think that there are guys that still hold a lot of value in this league. And it's just up to him to try to figure out and negotiate with other teams who it is that he wants to keep around and who it is that he can get rid of and bring value in and enhance that talent base that he speaks of. So, like you said, because there's no clear direction, it allows you to kind of get creative with the roster in a way that they haven't been able to in years past because everything was centered around Dame.
All right, we may dive back into some of the draft stuff coming up. Definitely want to get your thoughts on the play-in. Star-studded play-in tonight. You got Steph, you got LeBron, you got AD, you got Zion.
Yep.
I mean, I don't like the play-in, but
I love it.
Adam Silver's kind of knocking it out of the park with the you got Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid on the East coming up tomorrow. So we'll talk some play-in stuff. And when we used to do our show, you nicknamed me Hot Take Jake.
Hot Take Jake. That's right.
Stephen A. Smith, who's maybe the biggest hot take guy right now, had an interesting hot take about Damian Lillard.
Okay.
That I'll play you that, and we'll talk about that when we come back on the other side. Devon Pouncey hanging out with us live in studio here on Rip City Mornings on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Devon Pouncey, friend of the program, basketball analyst for your Rip City Remix, joining us live in studio for the entire third hour, and obviously a lot of basketball to talk about.
What a banger. Sorry, it's Dr. Dre, man. It's my guy. Production is crazy.
This
great.
is 1999, by the way.
Is this the
1999?
2000? No, was this on
I believe this was on
the 2000 project?
2001,
2001?
which came out in 1999.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to call it Chronic 2000.
Right.
And once he let that leak, then Suge Knight was like, well, I still own Death Row, so I own the Chronic,
Right.
the original from mid-90s.
So he just had to
he's
call
like,
it
so then-
2001.
So Suge Knight put out Chronic 2000, which
Yeah.
was just a bunch of old stuff. So he called it 2001.
Right.
But it was from 1999. Boom.
Great project. Great album.
Freshman year of college.
And I think it's better than his debut album, which is a classic.
That's some hot take Jake
That's
right
hot
there.
take Jake
That
right
is
there.
some hot take Jake right there.
That's just how
now,
I feel.
speaking
Maybe
of
age has something to do with that. But go
might
ahead.
be. You know,
My bad.
I talk about it all the time, especially with music with young Brenden. Right, a good chunk of like how good something is kind of where does it take you to emotion? Like
Absolutely.
I always talk about like a hot dog at a ballpark. Like it just works. Hot dog in your home on a Tuesday. Like, all right, what's going on?
Right.
You know what I mean? But like you go
We're
to a
running
ballpark.
low. We're running low on groceries here.
So it doesn't feel the same. Like I think music kind of the same way because I hear that song and I'm instantly taken to a very, very bad one-room apartment where we are drinking very cheap beer in freshman year of
Yeah.
college, ripping this off of Napster. Completely
Got it.
ripping
Got
it off
it.
of one dude's at the one computer, loading it up with viruses.
Yeah,
It doesn't-
exactly.
like, dude. So that's where it takes me to. But speaking of hot takes, there's a guy in our world, in our sports media world. He's on TV each and every afternoon. He's on TV right now. Stephen A. Smith. He and again, we love hot takes on this show.
Absolutely.
This whole industry was built on hot takes, so
It's a
I
fact.
respect the hot take. But he threw out a doozy. I think it's from yesterday. But they're doubling down on it because the Milwaukee Bucks and Damian Lillard are going to be taking on the Indiana Pacers in the first round. Did the Bucks throw the last couple games to match up with the Pacers and maybe not have to play the 76ers? I don't know. Sure seemed convenient.
Hard to say without
If you're
Giannis.
the Bucks, would you rather play the Sixers or would you rather play the Pacers in the
Pacers
first
been
round?
having their number this season, though.
That is true. They
They've
took
been-
4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I forgot about the
in-season tournament, baby.
basketball gate where they stole the ball.
Yeah. Giannis is, he ran through the other tunnel.
Because some guy that we've never even heard of since got his first free throw. And they
Right.
were like, no, we give him the ball.
For sure.
All right, so that's all going to have some drama attached to it, but there may be some other drama attached to it because the Bucks are preparing to play at least the first couple of games without Giannis. This is from Adrian Wojnarowski. He says the Bucks are preparing to be without Giannis for the start of the Eastern Conference first round. They're hoping that he'll be able to be available later on in the series if it goes later in the series. But Stephen A. Smith had this to say about the Milwaukee Bucks and Damian Lillard, if in fact things don't go their way in the first round. Here's Stephen A. from yesterday.
I think you need to consider moving Dame up out of there. It's
He
not-
just got there.
Let me explain. I'm not talking about his game. He's not happy there. Now, he's got a lot of distractions, which are his business, and we wish him nothing but the
Nothing
best.
but the
You know,
best.
Nothing but the
Right.
best. Because a lot of us will not be able to handle it as well as he's handling it. But nevertheless, whatever support system that you're looking for, and I'm sure they got love for him and they try to support him or whatever, but it's one of those situations where if you are not happy in a situation, albeit because of outside reasons.
He wanted to go to Miami.
Yeah, and I know you wanted to go to Miami too. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. I mean, you got all of that going on. That's a lot to deal with. I'm not talking about his game because I believe in Dame.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
talking about what he has to go through and psychologically how that situation may not be ideal for him.
Stephen A. Smith says if Bucks don't win in the first round or if they don't even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's time for Milwaukee and Dame to part ways. It's been 1 year, pals. Now, let me add a little bit of context here.
Go ahead.
Because I think you know this. I would assume maybe the listening audience knows this. Stephen A. Smith's been trying to get Dame on the New York Knicks for a decade now.
1,000%
for a
that matter.
decade now.
Absolutely.
And so when I hear him go like, hey, he's handling it real well, and I'm not talking about his game, but he's not happy there. Maybe be happy in New York. That's the little subtle thing. But
For sure.
we have seen the stories that, Dame's, kind of dealing with some isolation in Milwaukee. His support system's here in
Right.
Portland. Family is still here. Businesses are here. Goes home, watches YouTube videos of old boxing matches and things like that. And I think that was kind of part of the trade-off of, but I'm going to be able to make a run at a title.
Yeah.
Going through moving his entire career to a city where he does not have everything that he built here in Portland. And it was like the juice is going to be worth the squeeze because ultimately going to have a chance to make a run at this thing. Who knows if they can beat the Celtics, but you're going to have a chance. Now, Giannis is out for a good chunk of the first round.
Yeah.
You're playing the Pacers. Still favored, but if it doesn't work out in the first round,
You got to get out of the first round.
what happens with the Bucks and Dame?
I mean,
Now, this might all be a moot point by next week when you come back. Or
for sure.
But it is an interesting thought that is it a long-term marriage, Dame, Giannis, and the Bucks?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's really hard to say with Giannis not being available. You didn't expect Dame to go out there and win a championship and be the game changer in the case that Giannis gets hurt. You expected Dame to go out there and compliment Giannis, being that he's a point guard, he stretches out the floor in a tremendous way. It makes it a bit tougher for teams to be able to pack the paint so that Giannis can have more space and room to operate and do what he does best, which is get downhill and just score over the top of people, because that's basically what his game is. I do think that, there is an element of Dame not being the most happy in Milwaukee. I don't really know that, but obviously we know that he's going through a lot of things personally. And so I can see a world where the adjustment phase and sort of the transition coming out of Portland and into Milwaukee, even on the basketball court where Dame's been the number one guy for a majority of his career, could be a bit of an adjustment period for him. And so I do believe, getting out of the first round is important, but if you don't have Giannis available to be able to do that from a basketball standpoint, for me, it's not that big of a deal. But if Giannis is available at any point throughout this series, you should be able to go and get out of the first round. And that's where I think a problem kind of comes in. And let's be fair to Dame, because he's used to being the number one guy and he hasn't had Giannis available. And at the times when Dame hasn't had Giannis, he has stepped up throughout the course of this season and showed flashes of what we basically got accustomed to seeing from him here in Portland, which in a lot of ways, some people would say he overachieved because he didn't have the roster constructed around him that you would think would go to a playoff 8 or 9 consecutive years, get to a conference final, so on and so forth. So I think while, you can look at it as, maybe they don't get out of the first round, I still believe that there is an element to Dame's game where it's like, watch out, because he could be locked in coming into this postseason, and he knows how to be the number one guy, even though he's not, because that's still Giannis's team. He knows how to be that, and we saw signs of that throughout the season when Giannis was out, and the Bucks didn't look bad. So I actually still think with or without Giannis that they got a good chance to get out of the first round. But if they don't, I won't make as big of a deal out of it if Giannis isn't available.
I will say, though, this is why the Bucks went out and got Dame, right? We know it from the Portland perspective of Dame said, hey, no more 19-year-olds, and the Blazers drafted a 19-year-old point guard.
Right.
And then the whole Miami thing. But the reason the Bucks got in the mix here was because last year Giannis got hurt. They got bounced early.
Yeah.
And then Giannis essentially alluded to in the summer, like, we got to upgrade this. If we want to make a run at the title, I need another superstar, and that's why they went out and got Dame. And I think also it's fair or unfair, but welcome to superstardom, right? That's the reason why they gave up a guy like Drew Holiday, who's crushing it now in the Celtics.
Yeah, they are great. Oh, my gosh.
So good. But you give up a guy like Drew Holiday to be able to bring in a guy like Damian Lillard, because you saw last year, Giannis gets hurt, the Bucks are done.
Yeah.
They go out and get Dame to win this the way that they are set up right now. That's why they went out and got Dame.
For
was
sure.
That if Giannis gets hurt or gets banged up or has to miss a game or two, you can still lean on. I still think we're going to see vintage Dame, especially coming up. A
That's
little
what
bit
I
of
think.
rest, getting into the postseason. This is what he has been waiting for
Absolutely.
all season long. I think we see a couple of 40 burgers, maybe a 50 burger in there.
With 10 assists to go with
Yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying? Like I see that. And again, there's sample sizes of that throughout the course of this season. When Giannis isn't available
Yeah.
and Dame takes over and they tend to actually win games.
It is going to be fascinating though to see if it doesn't work, and I think it will. But if it doesn't work, like does Dame become kind of that veteran that kind of bounces around a little bit, or like you said, which I think is probably the case, because again, I take what Stephen A. Smith says with a bit of a grain of salt
For
because
sure.
he wants him to play for the Knicks.
Yes. Facts.
Julius Randle's out. The Knicks can maybe win around maybe 2. They're not winning the NBA title this year.
No.
He's trying to get him to the Knicks. But that being said, if the Bucks get bounced early 2 years in a row now, I wonder if they go into panic mode. And if panic mode means maybe they reevaluate the whole Damian Lillard thing. I don't think they will, because you'll always have you have to give Dame, Giannis together, healthy, at least one run.
Well,
You got to give him one run.
And then also you've had a coaching change
And a coaching
this season as well.
Boom.
So I think it would be wrong for the Bucks as an organization, as a franchise, to panic. Being that Dame and Giannis were still able to be a 3 seed, they won a whole lot more games than they lost together this year. All the while, you deal with a coaching change mid-season. I don't think that's so much a reflection of Dame and Giannis per se as a tandem. Maybe more of a reflection of Giannis and how he's felt. In terms of some of his relationships with the coaching staff this season, but there's been a lot of turmoil when you bring a guy in basically when it's time for training camp and throw him out there to try to win right away, and then you have a coaching change mid-season, and these guys still are able to be the 3 seed in the conference, get you home court advantage in the first round. So I think in a lot of ways, they've done what they're supposed to do on the basketball court, considering all that they've had to deal with.
Yes, Brenden.
Kind of piggybacking off that, Devon, one thing that I think gets thrown under the radar quite a bit, how about the fact that his handpicked assistant coach, Terry Stotts, was let go, a week into the season?
Yep.
How much different would things have been if Terry had been there to essentially design the offense, which we all know Terry's really good at designing offense, around Giannis and Dame?
For sure. No, exactly. So there's been that even more so. It's like the guy who Dame probably was most comfortable with coming into the situation was gone in a snap of a finger.
Yeah.
And so, again,
Over a power struggle because he's the new head coach got a little bit in his feels.
Exactly.
About a week into the season.
And he's not even there anymore.
And he's not even
He's
there
gone.
anymore. So
Insane.
again, I think
What a
all
league.
things considered, exactly, what a league, huh? Soap opera league.
Exactly.
But all things considered, I think that they've actually done what they're supposed to do to this point in the year. But obviously, we know the only part of the year that really truly matters is the postseason for them because of the expectations that have been placed on them.
All right, real quick, I want to talk about the Warriors. The Warriors play tonight. I think 7 o'clock tonight they play against the Kings. Win or go home for the Warriors. And 2 years ago they were winning NBA championships. Relatively close to the same roster. We know the dynasties don't last forever.
Right.
I'm fascinated as to what is going to ultimately happen with both the Warriors and the Lakers,
For
who are both
sure.
now in this kind of weird spot of like, do we hang on? If the Warriors lose to the Kings, is this? Steph's not going anywhere. He's the cash cow. He's
locked
the
in.
reason why people go to the Chase Center. But do we see kind of like, and you know this because you're a big Kobe fan, like what the Lakers ultimately did with Kobe, which was like Kobe's sticking around because he's the draw, but you're gonna have to play with a bunch of young guys now. Like, do we see
Yeah.
Draymond and Clay?
I see Draymond
back?
probably sticking around. I don't know so much about Clay.
Yeah, I think Clay's gone.
I could see a world where Clay's gone at the end of the season, especially if they don't. Because, for one, it's a contract year for Clay. So that already has everybody on the edge of their seats, Clay included, the front office included, in regards to what happens tonight and the remainder of this postseason if they're able to figure out a way to get out of the play-in, and ultimately the best they could do is be an 8 seed and play against the Oklahoma City Thunder, which I don't think is the worst-case scenario for them, because although the Thunder have been absolutely great, SGA should win MVP. I'm going to go out on the record and say
he should win MVP.
He should win MVP. There's still a really,
say it
really
louder for the people in back.
He should totally win MVP. They're still a really, really young team, and the Warriors are obviously veteran-laden with a lot of championship experience. I don't think that's worst-case scenario being an 8 seed. But with that being said, Klay's the guy who I think is we got to keep our eyes on in terms of how he comes out and plays in this postseason. Can he help boost the Warriors to get into the playoffs and then ultimately at least get out of the first round? I think that would be significant for the Warriors if Klay – all you want from Klay is to give them hope. I think that's what comes out of this. You don't really expect them to win a championship this season as a 10 seed, but hope is getting into the playoffs and then maybe potentially upsetting or at least taking them the distance a really young number 1 seeded team in the Oklahoma City Thunder. That gives me a little bit of hope if Klay can help boost them to do at least that.
It's interesting because with the Warriors, I mentioned it yesterday. Tiger Woods is not going to win a major championship ever again. He's just not. But I'm not ready to give up on that dream yet.
For sure.
I still go into the Masters thing. Tiger might be able to. He's not. But in my head, that's still the same guy from like 2002. And that's still the same swing. And it's like, I wonder if it's a little bit like that with the Warriors, right? Father Time's undefeated. They've won their championships. They're 10 seed for a reason.
Yeah,
you know
exactly,
what I mean?
Exactly.
And I just wonder, we still keep looking yeah, but maybe that still looks the same, right? That's still Steph and Klay and Draymond.
For sure.
That still looks the same. One thing real quick before we get to the break here. All right, Lakers, Pelicans.
I'm excited for that one.
That's going to be interesting. Pelicans 1.5 favorites in that game. What's the future of the Lakers with LeBron, with Anthony Davis?
With Bronny
entering the draft, which I don't think he's going to ultimately go in the draft. I think he's going to use that as leverage to get an NIL deal to go to Ohio State. That's my prediction.
Got it.
But we talk about maybe are the Warriors at the brink of kind of breaking it all up. Man, what is the future of the LeBron James, Anthony Davis Lakers? Because they did make a run to the Western Conference Finals last year, but they were also in the play-in last year.
For sure.
And they're in the play-in again this year.
For sure.
This is not I don't think this is the return that they wanted when they brought those two together. One bubble championship.
I think you ride till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
LeBron's
kind of have to.
You kind of have to. You're going to sell out every game as long as LeBron's there. LeBron wants to at least feel like he has a chance to win a championship. And I think the guy he's most comfortable feeling that way alongside him is Anthony Davis. And for obvious reasons, they've won one together. Anthony Davis, when healthy, is a top-tier talent in the league. But I think ultimately, if you're the Lakers, you ride that thing all the way out because LeBron James is still LeBron James, and he's still putting up big numbers. It's not like he's had a significant drop-off production-wise. I don't think he's the same player as he was in his prime, but he's figured out and adjusted and found ways to still put up massive numbers even at this point in his career. So I think if you're the Lakers, you lean into the fact that you take advantage of having LeBron here for as long as you can, and that when the day does come, when the dust settles, LeBron finally decides to retire, that you have an appealing market for new stars to want to come into and try to elevate the Lakers back up to what it is that we've known them to be as a franchise in the league. So I think you just ride it out, man.
I will say LeBron's brilliance is he seems to be so unbelievably aware of the gas tank.
For sure.
I know when I need to crank it up. I know when I need to take a couple of days off. Jordan didn't know that. Jordan played every game.
Yeah.
And you played it till the wheel fall off.
For sure.
LeBron is he's brilliant at it because I watch and I'm like, when he wants to, he can get downhill and he can get to the rim whenever he wants, it seems like. But he knows he can't do that every possession.
Yeah.
He can do it every 5 possessions,
For sure.
and he does it. It's been brilliant as much as it frustrates me to no end. All right, we have got one more segment to do.
You calling him to go?
Not even close. Not Stephen A's over. That segment's done. We have got a special Ebony and Ivory version of the RCM mailbag next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up the big show. And obviously, Tuesday is when we do the RCM mailbag. But when Devon comes in here, we throw a little extra cheese on the rice.
That's right.
Or a little extra sauce on the rice is what I've been told from time to time, which is our Ebony and Ivory segment, which for those that are maybe new to the segment, here's what it is. Devon and I grew up in very different cultures, and we are both very curious about each other's cultures. And because we are dear friends, and we know that we come from a place of curiosity and not a place of judgment, we now offer a safe space.
That's right.
To ask questions, to learn more, and to understand the differences, and then embrace them, and then we all move better together into this world. We call it Ebony and Ivory. Here we go. All right. Here's my question. First one today. When you and I see each other,
Yeah,
we dap it up.
for sure.
I also handshake middle-aged white dudes like myself.
Okay.
How do you determine handshake versus the dap? Is it like a gut feeling? Is it?
I think it's based on kind of like market and region.
Yeah.
So like in Oregon, when I moved, in California, like it's just like a handshake, and that's kind of it. You kind of leave it at the handshake. You put a little sauce on the shake, but you don't do anything extra. In Oregon, I've noticed, which obviously Oregon is, is a pretty white state. They do the handshake and then the dap.
Gotcha.
We shake hands and then dap right after.
Got it.
Like following the handshake. That was new for me. I had to adjust to that. And then when I went back home to California and I tried to do that to somebody, they're like, bro, what are you doing? Like,
it can get off when two people are not on the same dap,
For sure.
handshake, sequence page.
yeah,
It's awkward.
for sure. And so
And then you're just standing there in the awkwardness.
Looking
Nobody
crazy.
wants to address it. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, in California, they'll address it. Like, bro, what was that little dap thing you just tried to do at the end? You've been living in Oregon for too long. That's basically what I get when I go back home. So I do have to adjust the handshake thing because
Yeah.
California is a little bit more diverse, and the way they shake hands out there is a little bit different.
So you're saying it's
And
more
I've been
regional than
criticized.
cultural.
I do believe. I mean, I think it's both.
Both.
I think it's
Yeah.
both regional and cultural because you might go to other areas where the handshake dap is
Mhm.
not a thing. But again, that's only me speaking speaking as a guy that's lived in California my whole life and then moved to the Pacific Northwest. So, but that's been my experience coming from where I grew up at to being here now. Is like the handshake dap thing is really big out here, and back home I get looked at crazy for trying it.
Brenden, when do you go to the handshake versus the dap? Do you stick with the handshake till you know?
Yeah, so it was interesting because before COVID, I was handshake guy. Like I would get compliments from people literally being like, "Man, you got a good handshake, got a good grip, good handshake." Then
I believe
COVID,
it's called a Webby when you get like right there, like the thumb.
like it's just perfect, right? I could always give a perfect handshake, whether it be meeting people or whatever.
Yeah.
And I always prided myself. Hey, you get a good handshake, people are gonna remember it. Then COVID happened, and we stopped touching people, stopped being within the same bubble of people.
fist bump became
And then
like
I started
the thing.
doing the fist bump. I kind of like the fist
Sticking
bump.
with it.
I think I fist bumped Devon when we walked in.
We might have done that.
So I'm like, yeah, whatever, like subconsciously that was, like that works for me,
See,
yeah.
See, also in California, we like a good pop
Yeah.
on the handshake.
There you go.
You know what I
Gotta
mean? We
get
like
a-
a good pop. Where some people like the stern, strong
the
handshake
web,
to show
yeah.
how much you've been in the weight room.
Oh,
we like a good pop. You know what I'm saying on the handshake. That lets you know that we here, man, and we rocking.
That is still one of my favorite clips. I believe it is as a GIF or GIF, as the kids say. When I can't remember what, I think it might have been North Carolina, but then President Obama shaking hands with the basketball team.
Yeah.
And like the two white guys, handshake, my man.
My man with a good pop on it.
It is my favorite.
man.
I love it so much.
Yeah. We go with it. We need some pop to ours.
Because that's always like I am normally, if I'm just meeting you, handshake.
Yeah.
But Every once in a while, dap feels right.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. A little swag to it. I mean, LeBron has one for every teammate that he's ever played with.
That is the other thing. Like,
He's impressive with the handshake thing.
The NBA players, and some college basketball teams too, but the NBA players that have a specified 4 to 5 sequence handshake unique to. I don't know how you
It's
do
a
it.
lot to remember.
I mean,
a lot
I
to
don't know
remember.
if anybody leads the league more in like being the guy on the bench with the handshake than Cameron Payne. Back me up on that, Devon.
Yeah.
Like Cam Payne was
Yeah.
like the dude. He was in Oklahoma City to be Russell Westbrook's like pump up dude. Like you go as a rookie, it's like go back and look. It's like, oh, Russ getting all the triple doubles. Yeah, he's jamming out with Cam Payne on the sidelines. But that always seems like, yeah, there's guys who like they really work on their dance moves on the sidelines.
And then also handshakes like back where I'm from could like let it be known like who your crew is, or in some cases who your gang is. You know what I mean? You kind of got a gang handshake as well to let it be known. It's almost a sign of like banging a little bit. So you got that aspect of it as well.
It's in the handshake?
In the handshake.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I remember the gang signs. 'Cause
No,
I watched,
you gotta.
I watched Boys in the Hood.
It might be some gang signs intertwined in the handshake as well.
gotcha.
But similar to how you see these handshakes from LeBrons and people of the likes, like they got handshakes let you know like this is my fellow crew member here.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
You got one?
It's a thing. Yeah, I want you to give me your all-time, and I'm gonna make it a little tough on you. I know we got to be quick. We got to get out of here. Your all-time starting 5 of NBA players, a starting 5 without any Europeans.
Currently playing right now.
No, it could be all time.
All time
starting 5.
starting
in the
5.
NBA. Yeah. What's it? I mean, obviously it's a majority black league.
Yeah.
But you can't use the.
So I got to go five white
Can't
guys.
use Dirk. Can't use Luka.
Okay, so 5 white guys.
Americans.
No Euros.
Yep.
Larry Bird. That's it. That's the list.
It's a pretty good list.
All right, you got to have Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Point guard John Stockton.
Over Nash.
Or
He's Canadian, though.
Well, yeah, true.
Is that Euro?
Yeah.
Is
It's North
Canadian
American.
Euro?
It's North
No,
American.
Canada's
North
not
American.
Europe.
Nah, I'm still going
It's North
Stockton.
American. Okay.
I'm still going Stockton. Shout out to Gonzaga. You got to go. Oh, it's basically just the Celtics from the 80s, right? You got
He's basically something.
yeah. But like
No Spirit of 77.
Dude, you going Kayla?
Sprinkled in there?
you would throw in Bill Walton.
Okay.
Bill Walton. Look, Bill Walton's going to be your starting center.
Okay.
You got Larry Bird starting forward.
Stockton is your point.
Stockton is your point. Shooting guard's going to be tough.
Need a shooter.
Need a shooting guard. Mark Price. You might be going Mark Price. He was also
he's
more of a
all-star.
point guard.
Yeah.
Go big, Justin. Play Kevin Love.
Yeah, Kevin Love. That's
Go big.
really
Four.
pandering.
Go big.
That's really pandering. But Kevin McHale. You gotta have Kevin McHale in there.
Okay.
So there you go. There's my starting 5.
So McHale, Bird,
Bird,
Walton, Stockton,
Mark Price.
Price. I'm not mad at it.
There we go. We're gonna make a lot of free throws. Do not foul us. We are gonna make a lot of free throws. All right, that's gonna do it for the show. Did that without any Duke players, by the way, which is impressive.
I thought you were gonna go there.
I hate Duke so much, especially JJ Redick. All right, big thanks to Devon Pouncey for joining us live in studio. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Tuesday, everybody. We are back at it bright and early tomorrow morning here on Rip City Morning, 620 Rip City Radio.